Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app, on Apple Podcasts, on Android, Spotify, or the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Off the Floor. Make sure you click through, pay the $2.99. You get access to all 10 channels. We're going to talk about one of the craziest games that we've seen in a very long time. We'll get to the sponsors and all that in a minute. Here's the latest episode of 5 on the Floor.
Down the Biscayne. Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust.
You sound scared.
It's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. We're going to try to digest quickly what just happened, do a short podcast, and then we're going to clean the rest of this up tomorrow. I haven't seen a finish like that probably ever, and I've been around this team covering it for basically 3 decades. There's no way around this tonight, and I'm sure he'll take responsibility for it in the post-game press conference. Eric Spoelstra made a mistake. There's no other way to look at that. He called a timeout he did not have. There's so much good that happened down the stretch of this, and I don't want that to get lost, and we will get to it, but they just lost a game in Detroit that was completely winnable. They put themselves in position to win it, and then 2 things happened at the end after Herro hit what should have been the game winner, which is totally asleep at the switch on a dunk, and then Spoelstra called a timeout he didn't have. And again, I know he won't blame anybody else for this. I know that the assistants are supposed to keep him informed of the timeouts, but ultimately it falls on him. That just can't happen. And he's made very few of these mistakes throughout the years, but this directly cost them a chance to win this game. And it's very frustrating to see it. I'm going to go through some of the numbers. I'm going to bring in Brady and Alex. We will do our regular segments. But again, I sort of can't believe what I just watched. Do you want to just ring this up? You know what? Let's do the player of the game to start. We need to start there, and then we'll get into the play of the game and try to play off of that.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
Same one it's been in every game, pretty much, with the exception of one. Tyler Herro, 42 minutes, 14 of 27 from the floor, 10 of 17 from 3, 40 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. This included a 9-point flurry to get them from 111 to 102 down to tied at 111. He did that in roughly, was it, Alex, 40 seconds? I think we timed it out. We were watching this together on playback.
Around 45 seconds.
Around 45 seconds. This is Reggie Miller-like. Okay, this was Tracy McGrady-like. And then you get to the overtime, and there were some blips in there, but then he makes the shot. Basically, okay, Tyler can't take anybody off the dribble, right? Right? He can't do that. He did it with the game on the line. Banks it in. They're up by 2. We're going to end up getting off of him a little bit. Alex and I just did a whole podcast on him. I don't even know what to say about him at this point. I mean, his backcourt mate went 3 of 14, stepped on the sideline twice, 0 of 5 from 3. I mean, this is Tyler's team right now. Like, right? I mean, Brady, I'll go to you first. Like, he's yelling at guys. He's taking control of this thing, and they just didn't finish with him tonight, other than Highsmith.
Yeah, I know. We try to find reasons for the ways he's doing it, like less dribbles, doing more stuff off ball, all this stuff. But the reality is he's just playing really great basketball because he's not as off ball as we try to make it, as people try to make it sound. He's dribbling a whole lot. He's running isolation. He's running pick and roll. He's getting into pull-ups. The big change is that he's just cut out mid-ranges. He's just shooting more threes. and that ultimately looks like he's shooting more spot ups, but he's not. He's just playing really good basketball off the dribble, off the catch, and everywhere. And as Spoelstra always talked about with him being ignitable, we saw that in that stretch. I mean, that was just an incredible 40 to 50 seconds, like 3 straight possessions, just him just finding the ball. I mean, it got to a point there where their best offense was Tyler just taking an early clock transition 3, because as soon as it got into half court offense and the ball moved around and it stuck, and these other guys in this team, whether it was Terry or Bam tonight, either were inefficient or non-aggressive, and that's a problem. So it's almost better off that you get the guy that's hot in the game a good shot. So he got to a point where Tyler wasn't even like waiting around. He was just getting into his shots, and I really liked that. And I really liked kind of the because I know we're going to talk about the play of what happened at the very end, but the play to take the lead, I actually said it right before it happened. I felt like they kept leaning into this thing where they were attacking Malik Beasley in isolation. You don't see Miami go to isolation with Tyler Herro very often, unless they like a matchup, unless he or they like a matchup, and that was the case tonight. And I kind of felt like they were just going to put Dunk in strong side corner, let him go in isolation, and if that defender helps down, you kick it to Duncan, but if not, Tyler just take a nice pull up, and he got to his spot. Like, he got right to the spot, fired over the top, bank off glass, for what we thought was going to ultimately be the game winner, but it wasn't. But 40 points, 10 threes, the deflections late in this game. Like, I don't want to like undersell the game he just had. Like, the deflections he was having, the passes he was making, pure impact. This wasn't just like a scorer being ignitable. This was a really good player playing really good basketball on a hot night. So credit to him. It's really it's not great that we have to talk about it in a loss, and especially the way it ended. But he still deserves credit for the night he's having and for the season he's having, because he's playing incredible basketball.
No, he is. And we talked about the way he played in that one game against Boston where he's in total control. He's been like that the whole year. He's been like that the entire season, like in virtually every half of every game. I know some of the second halves have not been as good as some of the first. But today, like you said, their best offense was him pulling up from 27. Like, that's where they're at right now. I want to let you get in a thought on this, Alex, before we get to the play of the game, because we're going to do that next. We have to address – it's not just going to be one play. We're going to talk about all 3 plays. Brady just kind of hit on one of them, which was Tyler, making the basket. But I want to get into what happened there on defense, and then we have to talk about what happened with Spo. But, I mean, for you with Tyler right now, let me go through some numbers here. So Bam ends up with 20 and 12, okay? There was impact late in the game. Rozier's been terrible. There's no other way to put it. And the rest of the offense, Duncan, 6 of 16. He was only 2 of 10 from 3, but he did a lot of good things, I thought, tonight in 36 minutes. And Hawkins had good moments also, 14 and 5. Spoke played 11, didn't play Burks again, played Ware, but took Ware out. I want to get into that at the end. Josh played in the first half, not in the second, and Jovic basically looked like he deviated septum, so he basically broke his nose. We'll see when he's back, and of course, no Jimmy. But let's just close with the Tyler book of this, and then we're going to get into this hellscape of what happened at the end after his shot. What impressed you most about Tyler tonight, Alex?
The fact that he's continued to play high-level ball. It's been consistent every night just about this season, and he's taken it to, he took it to another level tonight. That was obvious to anybody watching. That was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. That was nuts. And I know it's the Pistons, right? Like, I get it. That's fine. But what he did, like what Brady said, he was just playing fantastic basketball. He was making the right reads, and he's, a great shooter. And, he really got going, man. And you give him credit, of course, for the 40 points on 14 of 27 shooting. You also got to give him credit for 8 assists and 1 turnover. Considering that, last game, that was like the one thing that we picked at him a little bit for, despite having a good game, was the large amount of turnover he's had, and sometimes it's happened to him when he has to play a bigger role. He looked awesome in that big role tonight. And even though it was against the Pistons, there's no taking away that the game he had, the clutch performance that he had. We've seen him be clutch so many times in the past, but that was nuts. I mean, we were losing our minds on playback, which of course, shout out playback.tv/5RSN. We were having a really good time watching the end of that game after having to withstand such an ugly game for most of that. Right. And I think Tyler was the catalyst, man. He was single-handedly keeping them in that game. For sure, shout out to Duncan, because they used him a lot more today. And I think he was a big part of, he was the only other guy I think seriously helping get their offense going outside of Tyler. And, he also chipped in with 4 steals. That's not something you see from Duncan much. But Tyler was the catalyst. He single-handedly kept them in the game, had a legendary moment, or something I think would have been a legendary moment if they could have closed out this game, and now it's going to get forgotten because of something that's like, if you look at it, that's an all-time bad moment. It's not going to go down with other things because it's a meaningless in-season tournament game versus the Pistons in November. But that was unlike anything I've ever seen before. I don't think I was alive for the whole, the Michigan thing, the Chris Webber thing. I don't think I was alive when that happened. And then when they panned, you know what? I forgot. We're not supposed to be talking about this right now. I'm sorry. I got lost while thinking about the way that this game just ended. I'm going to save my thoughts on that for later. But Tyler was fantastic, not only in scoring wise, playmaking wise. He also gave you the 5 rebounds. He got he also got 4 steals I just saw and had a clutch steal there. He more than did his part. They should have lost that game in the fourth quarter, and Tyler single-handedly kept them in.
Well, you mentioned, the Weber part. Jalen Rose was there tonight, actually. It's literally in Detroit. I mean, it's Michigan. Weber and Rose.
That's what I was about to say. When they panned him, I'm like, oh no. In Michigan, in Detroit.
I just don't even understand how that happens. All right, Alex, just roll it. We're gonna do the play of the game.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
All right, we're still waiting to hear from Spo. I haven't seen the quotes yet, but let's go to the play before it, Brady. How do they allow a dunk there? Who's at fault there? Why was Ware taken off the court when it looked like he was going to be put on the court? What happened?
So there's a lot of things I want to talk about here. Number one, the Ware thing is interesting to me. That made no sense to me. I don't know why he was taken off the floor. With that amount of time left, if you're guarding the inbounder, there's no worry of that the inbounder getting the ball back. Let's say Ware should have been in the game. I think that's number one. Try to get a deflection. Number two, the play. I've seen a lot of blame being put on one person here, and I don't think it's supposed to be. They set up a back screen, a really good play by Detroit, by the way. I mean, they set up a back screen with the guy that Terry is guarding and a back screen on Bam for Duren. And the goal here is to see that Miami is forced to switch it because they can't or not switch it, because if they switch it, it's going to be Duren up at the top with Terry Rozier on it. Miami does neither because Bam doesn't fight through, takes a bad angle. He's face guarding Duren at the elbow. No, he's not sagging off at all. It leads to Terry fighting through like he was supposed to, most likely, and it ends up with a wide open dunk. And I see a lot of blame being put on Terry, where they're mad that he didn't switch, but I don't think he was supposed to switch there. Like if he switches, Duren still gets that dunk. So I just don't want to put that on him. Now, if your problem is why is Terry Rozier on the floor, I'm fine with that. I mean, I think if in that spot you need to go bigger, you need to predict that teams are going to attack Terry Rozier because they're going to attack the small guy, especially when there's 1 second on the clock. So that is a very valid take. But I think the idea that the fact that he didn't switch it or made a miscue, I don't think that was the case. So that's number one. Number two, Spo just being the natural reaction guy that he is, being so mad about this miscue by Bam, by whoever it is, by Spo not making the right subs, whatever you want to call it, calls that timeout quick. And
right.
We're looking around saying, okay, this game's over with. It just felt like a reaction thing. Multiple reaction things, but I don't know who the blame is to put on here. I mean, the main person here is Spo. I mean, there's no the timeout, the substitution stuff, but the exact play, I don't know if I'm not blaming Terry there. We could blame Terry for things that happened in the first 3.5 quarters. I'm not blaming it for him on that last play.
No, there's plenty to go around for him. But we just it's something. This is why you should subscribe to Off the Floor, because I just saw something posted on there. Spoelstra said after the game that he was trying to get Ware in the game, but he subbed him in too late. So the officials wouldn't honor it. And that's why he wasn't in the game. Now, I'm with Brady on this. I think that was just a reaction. I think he called the timeout because he was out of sorts. And that's And that's where, and again, this is on Spoelstra. He's the head coach. Okay, that can happen, but an assistant at that point you have to. And I don't know who's exactly responsible for that now. He used to have, way back in the day, it was Rothstein used to do that kind of stuff. But they have help on the bench on that kind of thing. But ultimately, it's on Spo. You can't call a timeout you don't have. I remember going all the way back. You remember David Blatt. The whole reason the Cavs got to the finals in David Blatt's first year was because the officials missed Blatt calling a timeout he didn't have against Chicago. Right. Remember? Against Jimmy's team, actually, against Chicago, and they got away with that. I believe LeBron ended up hitting a corner, like a baseline shot or a baseline three.
They went up like 3-1, I think.
They went, yeah, and they ended up closing out that series. That was going to be a very competitive series. So sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't. But in that case, it just can't happen. I'm just going to go to that. There's no way around it. And the defense, that can't happen as far as giving up a dunk. You just you can't. Like that's to execute as well as they did to get Tyler that shot at the end to come back into the game. Just atrocious. All right, we're gonna get into defending the house in a second, but I before we do, and we'll talk rotations, all this other kind of stuff as we go forward. But they had a chance to win this game. They should have won this game. We have to talk about Rozier for at least 2 minutes here. You got to make the move at this point. I think you got to put him on bench. I do. I think once Jimmy's back, they have to look at a lineup that does not include him in the starting lineup because he's hurting them right now. I'm with you, Brady. I don't blame him for the last play, but it's not working. And now you're getting it where he didn't force things in the last game. I thought he forced things tonight. And I just want to see more Duncan minutes with Bam. At this point, I would put Duncan in the starting lineup with Tyler and roll with that. I know I've said Jaquez, but I think leave Jaquez on the bench. I'm curious to see what they do with Highsmith because I want to get to him in defending the house. But I would put Duncan in the starting lineup. Just give Duncan the minutes. Give Duncan the minutes. I don't think Terry's adding anything here. And the ball, you want the ball in Tyler's hands, and whether on or off the ball as much as possible right now. And I just feel like with Duncan out there, that's a better fit. I'll let either of you guys jump in on that. We'll talk about it more tomorrow.
I'll just give a quick. Alex, I want to let you take most of this, but let me just say that the counter here to this. Mm-hmm. Duncan's giving them the better offensive minutes right now. I don't see like the push to put them all together in the starting lineup. Like I don't know if that's like the total game fix here. Like I almost feel like most games we're sitting around waiting for Duncan to give them that extra push off the bench, like waiting for them to save things. And that's what happened in the second quarter. I mean, he's the one who propelled this. Tyler just took it to another level and caught fire off of it. That I just think if you put them all together, I mean, you're back to now you're having to stagger more. You're focused on Terry now having the ball in his hands and shooting even more because he's playing with the bench guys. That I don't know. I see your point. Like it's 100% valid, and I like Duncan Robinson with Tyler and Bam. Like I really like that 3-man unit a lot. They play really well off each other, and I think it maximizes the group. But I don't know if that makes the offense or the team better just if you're putting Terry off the bench. Like I don't know. I could be wrong here, and I think that the lineups would be interesting there. I think you'd have to start Haywood if you started Tyler and Duncan. I don't know. I just don't know what that would look like exactly because I feel like you're leaning on them even more.
All right. Well, I'm going to let Alex close on this. Let's get to defending the house, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow. But here's my thing. I think Duncan, at this point, I think Bam needs Duncan with him. And so that's one of the reasons that I would put the two of them together. Just seems much more comfortable when he's out there. I know we shouldn't have to be doing this, coddling the Max Star, but I just feel like it's the way to get him.
They do it with Jimmy.
No, they do. You're right. They do it with Jim with Love, right? And he's going to have Love back whenever it is that he comes back. All right, Alex, let's get to defending the house.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
First thing we mentioned earlier, Tyler's defense today was, I thought, pretty good. But I want to just get Highsmith in here somewhere. he made a couple of plays late in this game. The one play he made on Cunningham where he was kind of beaten, but he got his hand in there without fouling. He's gotten so good at that. And Haywood was terrific tonight. I mean, he's given them a couple of really strong performances. And I'm just at this stage here. And Alex, I'll let you finish it up, and then we'll go. We'll handle more of this tomorrow. But I'm just at the stage now where he got to get the minutes. I think him and Duncan have got to get the minutes. Like they let's sort out the rest of this stuff around it. Duncan unlocks them offensively in some ways, and Haywood is necessary defensively. They both have to play a lot. We can figure out some of the others, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I thought he was terrific tonight, and I just want to make sure we mention that again. Bad loss, but Haywood was really, really good.
100% agree. He's been fantastic. We already knew he was a great defender. He did an awesome job on Cade tonight. And he's easily their second best defender at this point. I still think we talked about it on playback. I still think Jimmy's a positive. He's still a very good off-ball player. But as far as consistently playing, like A-level defense, Haywood is doing that, when he's given the chance, especially when he's out there guarding the other team's best player. And that's not the only thing he does. Like you mentioned, he makes plays on defense as well. He's a good off-ball player. He can switch just about 1 through 4. Plays great in the zone. Plays great in just about any coverage you throw him in, right? And I think he's just somebody who can help solve a lot of problems for them and cleans things up with some of their lineups. Just an easy guy to fit around. So yeah, I agree he needs to be playing more. But I'm a fan of him being, going back to the starting lineup. I think it's a good move. I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck with that. We'll see how that goes. I'm not 100% sure how you fix this rotation, but there's got to be some adjusting here. Like what Brady was talking about. I don't think there's like an easy answer to what you do with Terry, but the starting lineup thing, you're not getting the version of Terry you want. So I think that's why we end up getting to that conclusion, because it's like you got to do something else. Even if it's the answer is not there, you got to figure out what those answers are, what those lineups are for him. And I think tonight was interesting because you saw more of Duncan and Bam together. You saw more of their two-man game when they were on the floor together, right? Because it's one thing for them to play together, but it's like it's not as valuable if Duncan is just spotting up and they're not running that two-man game. And I think it's a good way to help get Bam in a little bit of a rhythm too, because it's very natural for him to play out of that. So Haywood and Duncan, 100% agree with you. Those guys are important players for what they do. Keep doing what, keep empowering them to do what they do. I 100% agree with you there. It's just hard to a great game from Haywood. It's just hard to talk about anything else other than the way that game ended. Never seen anything like it. Spo made an impulse decision that, like you guys already talked about. He's done it. We've seen it a million times over the years, right? It's like there's a defensive breakdown and Spo immediately runs out onto that court. And like we were questioning on playback because we didn't know for sure, obviously, like was it Spo that called it? And I was saying 100%, like he ran onto that court, right? Like we've seen him do it so many times. That was 100% all him. And then it kind of showed on his face afterwards when they panned to him. It's like, yeah, he made a mistake. And I felt for him. I felt for him there because you just know, like, he cares about that so much. And he literally lost him the game. It was a bad defensive breakdown. Bam got caught on the screen and didn't recover. Easy bucket for Durant, all that, right? I'm not excusing that by any means because that's not something that you excuse. But the game was tied at that. He literally lost him the game. I've never seen anything like it. He's considered the best coach in the league, and it's like consensus. So I'm not gonna, I don't think it changes your opinion on him, but I've never seen anything like that. Shout out to Tyler, shout out to Haywood, shout out to Duncan for the games they had. Other than that, the only things I would add is that they got killed on the boards. They played a lot of zones, so that tends to happen sometimes, and the Pistons got up twice as many free throws. So those are the other kind of battlegrounds there that stuck out. Heat did a great job of forcing turnovers. They got 14 steals. So those are kind of the key stats that stand out to me from throughout the game. But honestly, outside of that, Tyler, Haywood, Duncan, Spo literally lost them this game.
Well, he did us a favor because we would have still been watching overtimes. By the way, I just want to say this, Brady, on the chat beforehand, because I had a hard out tonight, which we just blew through. I had a hard out tonight, and Brady said, so we're going to get double overtime. So anyway, this is all Brady's fault.
You basically... From cause and effect, you caused the Tyler 9 points in 45 seconds.
I did. So thank me for that. Anyway, all right. So we'll deal with all this tomorrow. Try to have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.